Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next video of Aurox. This time, we're not going to be talking about the token. We're going to be talking about the TA. We received so many questions about, when to enter the market, when to exit the market, what indicators to use. It's getting overwhelming for our team to answer the individual questions by themselves. So I think it's time for us to actually go through it live and show you guys both higher interval trading and the lower intervals, and how to use our indicators and our system to your advantage. So I'll start off with saying that if you are a new trader, you should probably avoid the lower intervals. They're a lot more aggressive. There's a lot more going on there, and you do need to use other indicators to confirm your trades. On the higher intervals, though, and I'm talking, 1 day, 2 day, 1 week, the Aurox indicator, we back tested it just by itself. Like if you were just following the arrows by themselves, it's about 70 to 80%, depending on which interval range you're on. And to answer another very important question that we've gotten is, do I enter the market on green and do I exit the market on red? And that's not really how it works. Exiting the market is really up to you. We suggest taking profits as soon as you can, but right now we're in a very strong bull market. So some people, like to let it keep running. Like we saw Bitcoin go up 20%. So exiting it in sentiments like this really doesn't make sense at times. But on the indicator itself, the Aurox indicator usually works as you enter the market on green as a long and short the market on the red. Now, again, if you're a beginner trader, we don't suggest shorting until you get the hang of things. When you go long, the most you can lose is what you've invested. When you go short, the most you can lose an infinite amount of money. You can lose your entire portfolio and very quickly too. So if you're a beginner trader, just pay attention to what I just said. Stick to the higher intervals. Green is long, red is short, and then honestly, just ignore the shorts. Just, pay attention to the longs. And especially right now, we're in a very aggressive, and you guys saw what happened with Tesla. They bought 1.5 billion in Bitcoin. So I highly suggest sticking to longs right now if you're a beginner trader, and if you're advanced, then maybe you can mess around with shorts. But before we get started, I actually want to introduce Tars is on this call, and we also have Roland. Roland has been using the platform for several months, and we've been talking extensively over the past few months. He's been not only using it to make successful trades using the platform, but he's actually helped us a lot with the progress of the platform. He's been very helpful in that way. So I thought it would be a good time to bring him on the video because he is a user of the platform, and that way he can teach you guys how it is from the user's perspective rather than the developer's or the owner of the company's perspective. So I'm going to hand it over to Roland. Before I hand it over to Roland, I want to hand it over to Taras because he's going to go over the TD sequential indicator and the DI indicator. And those are our indicators in the advanced tabs.
Hey guys. So let me throw up the DI indicator, and this is one of my favorite indicators to use just because it shows you what you can't see just looking at the price. It shows you what's going on behind the scenes with supply and demand. So an easy way to read this is, there's a few different ways to read it, but some people like to trade it when it crosses the zero line right here. So if you look at this on the daily, we got the cross above the zero line on when the price was at 10 grand. So when it crosses, you want to make sure that it crosses the zero line with strength. So we got a strong cross here, and then we caught this whole move up, which pretty much to where we are right now. And then you can see it in other spots right here. If you scroll back, you got your crossover to zero line, and then you have that big run up.
Can you describe exactly what you mean by a strong cross? How do you tell if it's a strong cross or not?
Yeah. So if you look at right here, we get up to the zero line, we hang around for a little bit, we get over, we get low, we go down. Like this is not a strong crest right here. This is just, we're hanging around the line. This would be a good cross where we just pass through the zero line with no resistance. It means that the supply, there's more demand than sellers. So once we get up here, there's more buyers than sellers, which means that the price will be going up. And it's a good time to look at other bullish indicators when we're above the zero line. So when we're above here, you can be looking at all your other bullish indicators to see like where you want to enter.
Real quick, can you make your chart bigger? I think some people are having, if you can maximize it so people can see it.
There we go. So yeah.
So let me pull this up. The name of the indicator is DI. It's the demand index. It's available in the advanced indicator tab. So as you described, the one thing that you kind of have to pay attention to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Taras, is mainly the cross above the zero line, correct?
Yeah, so this is one of the easier ways to use it. If you don't know any TA, you just follow the strong crosses over the zero line and you will do well. Combine it with other indicators as well. I'll show you the DMI next. But there's another way to use it where it will show you future price action. So every time that the price makes a new peak, like right here, the price is going to continue running afterwards, right? So we have the peak, the price consolidates, price runs up, we have a new peak, and then the price continues running until you can see that the demand doesn't keep increasing until we have a little dip, and we consolidate, and then we continue going. But here's like a good example of having a peak and where it continues running. So we have this peak right here higher than any spot before. So then we consolidate and then we go for new all-time highs. So,
real quick, can you change the color of the indicator, because I think people are having a hard time seeing. I can set it to red or yellow or something.
There we go. I think my resolution might be too big too, but let me know if this works.
Yep, it's much better. I think I'll be able to see it now.
Yeah. So just based on this one indicator, you're able to trade Bitcoin. Let's go on a smaller time frame because it works better. Well, not works better, but it also we can find more entries. So as you like right here, we had we had our strong cross up over the zero line, and then as we stayed above, we've been in a bull run. You can see that we made a higher high than this last one right here. So, well, we made a high, we rallied to new all-time highs, we made a newer high, we continued rallying to all-time highs. So with this, usually when it makes a peak, the price will continue rallying to higher highs. That's just the way it works.
Okay, so basically watching out for that peak, we'll be able to tell if it's going to just keep going up.
Yeah, and then here's an example where you can use it to get out, right? So the price is rising, we have a peak, keeps rising, we have a smaller peak of demand, keeps rising, smaller. So as this, you have the divergence of, the demand is dropping off and we're up here. So based on this, you could use this as an entry to get out of the market, because every time we run up, there's less and less demand. So once we had our fourth consecutive lower peak, you can see we had this major correction, and it wasn't really over until we made a new peak, a new local peak, right? So once we made this peak, we're back above, and then the price continues to run.
Okay. So it's, I mean, it's kind of the same concept, I think, that Roland is going to go over, kind of the divergence of the two items, correct? Of the price.
And you can, I don't use RSI as much. I mean, there's so many indicators, but using demand, I use demand index just because it's a leading indicator. So it'll tell you what the price is going to do in the future just by following it, which is, really important. And then another way to use this, we can even use this on the lower time frames. Let me fix
Yeah,
this.
can you set increase the opacity too?
Yeah, I should remove this. We don't need this.
So I think Misha asked what oscillator is, what is this indicator? And if you missed it, it was the DI indicator. Now he's showing the DMI. And both of these indicators are in the indicators advanced tab.
Yeah. So this signal doesn't pop up too often, but when it does, it usually is a pretty strong run. So what you want to look for is when the DI, here's a good example, when the demand index crosses the 0 line, and then the DMI crosses at the same time, the green crosses over the red, which when the green crosses over the red, that means the price action is bullish. When the demand index crosses over, that means buyers are stepping in. So when you have both of these things happening at the same time, that is usually a very strong buy signal. And this is something that I'll use sometimes even on its own without any other indicator. So this right here would be a good entry. You see how it crosses off at the same time on the DMI and on the demand index. So then we got your entry right here, and then we get this run.
And just for everyone else watching, the one thing on these lower intervals, the one thing, I mean, even on higher intervals, the reason that he's showing you these two indicators side by side, and why we'll be showing you other indicators side by side, is you always have to confirm your trade. Yeah, we say that, you know, the Aurox indicator is 70% or 80% accurate on the higher intervals, but confirming your trades with other indicators increases that. Even if it's by 3 or 4%, that's less of a risk that you're taking. So like he's showing you right here, it's I'm guessing he's going to show you another cross, correct?
Yeah. So here's a good cross. You know, we rallied to 28,000, and then we consolidated, and then we had we had this cross right here at the same time. When the demand index crosses over the 0 line from under to over, and you get your DMI cross right here, this is your buy signal, right? So yep. You would enter the market right here, right before it starts running, and then we can, you know, and it works both ways. You can also use it as a way to get out of the market, right? This is the one that we looked at before. We had this cross, we got this big run, and then so what the demand index is also good for is it helps prevent fake outs. Because if you look here, right, you have your DMI cross, it's all messy, over, under. You don't know which way it's going. But if you look at the demand index right here, it's telling you to ignore all of this. It's just, you know, we don't have a clear, there's no clear signal if you're just following DMI. Here we have a clear one. Like we zoom in, let's see. We have and you also want to make sure that the cross happens within 1 bar or 2 bars of whatever time frame you're using, right? So right here, you see the cross happen. You get this big candle, and then buyers step in, and then the market runs. It makes a peak. The price rallies to all-time highs. We have a new high in the demand index. Price continues to run. We make a peak, and then we have the next run up here.
And what intervals are you usually using these indicators on, or can it apply to basically any interval?
Yeah, this actually works on any interval. Sometimes, depending on the interval, you might have to change the demand index settings. I know the default on our platform is 5. You want to set it to 15. That's what I found works the best. But sometimes if you set it to a weird interval, like you want to trade something that's not usual, like a 4-minute interval or something, you're going to have to play around with the settings and see what works. You can align them to make sure that, you know, it works better. So here's a 15-minute chart. You can see just recently we got this cross right here. We got a little pump, and then, you know, we came down, and then we look another one. Not every signal will be a big run, But if we do still zoom in, this is the 15-minute chart. We do zoom in right here. We got. Well, this is actually isn't a buy signal. As you can see, we got the cross. Well, let's see. Let's zoom in. Yeah, actually, this would be, but it's not a clear cross over the zero line. So this is something I would usually ignore because it doesn't show strength, right? So this is a good example of, we came up to it, we hung around the zero line, we barely went over, we came down. That's not a good entry. This one was a lot better. We got our entry right here at 38,000, and then we got a 2, 3, we got about 2 hours of it running up before topping out and then dropping. And then the next signal, our next entry on the 15-minute before this crazy pump was right here. This is something where you would have to use your own judgment, because you can see that we crossed over with the demand index right here, and then the DMI a little bit afterwards. If you do take this trade, it's not as accurate as if you have them crossing at once, right? Yeah. So, and then there's really nothing going on right now. We got with this, you can see we had our peak on the demand index, which means that we're going to continue rallying to new highs. We rallied to new highs. The demand index wasn't higher. So based on the demand index, I don't know if we're going to continue to higher highs, but we just have to see. Nothing's 100% accurate. But
can you, I guess, real quick, go over the TD sequential and kind of describe what why we use and why we added TD sequential to the platform?
Yeah, let me bring it up.
And Murph, we are going to be going over the Aurox indicator. We just want to set up a base for the Aurox indicator. That way you can kind of, the thing is, we're reviewing even the lower intervals right now, and by understanding all these indicators that kind of come together, we can eliminate these sometimes fake crosses or fake pumps, and that way everyone's safer. The Aurox indicator, it's very simple. You just have the arrows. So we want to cover that at the end. That way you understand everything, and then it comes together.
Yeah, and then there's a few things we can look at with the Aurox indicator that can help you get good entries. But yeah, the TD sequential, I don't use it as much, but I know a lot of traders do use it, and they look out for these nines. So what it does is it shows you when a trend is going to exhaust. So there's a few ways to trade it. Usually what people do is if it trades all the way up to a 9, this is where people usually exit the market. They'll take their profits, get out of the market, wait for a dip, because it means that's just the trend is over. It means it's been run in an uptrend for 9 days, or at least on this time frame, so 9 candles. And the way you want to look at it is, well, what people usually do is they either take profits on the 5 or the 9, right? So let's look at it. It's been in a crazy bull market, so you might not see many dips, but.
So that's another thing is, like, on some of these you can see TD sequential, it ended on a 9 and just kept pumping. So if you were just paying attention on this lower interval just to this indicator, you would have been making mistakes. But that's why you combine it with the DI and the DMI and the Aurox indicator and stuff like that in order to stop or in order to not make those fake trades or false trades.
Yeah. So right here you can see you got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The trend ended on the 5, and then we started a new count, which went 1, 2, 3. We went all the way up to a 9, where the trend ended, and then once again the new trend starts right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where traders like to usually reverse on the 5 or the 9, right? So here's the 5 again, and then we go sideways. And then next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Trend ends. We consolidate for a couple days, and then it happens again. Trend starts, consolidate. So this is a good way for you to see where you want to, like, you want to exit the market. You don't know what to look at, like if you should take profit, if what to do. This is a good sign to, you know, get out of the market. Like, let's say you want to reduce, take some profit, reduce a third of your position. This is a good way to do it. If it does continue pumping, you only sold, let's say, 30% of your position. So it's good. And then another way that people trade this, let me just get this in real quick.
Yeah.
So when you see this green one, right, the new count started, it's a green one. Once that's the 2 count starts and it's green and it starts trading above, that's your entry to go long. So right here on the second candle is our entry, because we're trading higher than the first one, and then we run up to the 9, and then you can see it right here. Second one's trading above. We get the pump from 11,000 to 12,000, $1,000 move. And it's not perfect, but more often than not, it catches really big moves. Like here, for example, you got your green arrow, your green one, the second one trading higher, and then we take off. So that's just, this is what some people use as a entry, like to get into positions.
I'm going to answer this question real quick. So the red and yellow and green, they're kind of described in the settings. We'll try to make the settings a little more visible on the indicator, but they kind of signify I haven't seen, I think yellow, I haven't been paying attention to the yellow. Maybe Tars, you can pull it up, but the red signals a bear flag, green signals a bull flag. And yeah, I haven't seen the yellow one before, but so what those mean is usually TD sequential actually can be numbered up to 13. There you might find some indicators out there that can be numbered up, I think maybe even 15. Is the further you get from 9, the more and more the trend exhausts, and around 13 or 14, that's like usually means severe exhaustion. And that's where you get your either the bull or the bear flags. And you can kind of see it if you follow, if you see some areas where it goes past 9, it'll start to trigger darker and darker reds. Like it'll start from pink, then even larger pink, or even darker pink, then it's red. And you can see it just gets more, the trend is getting more and more exhausted. So in essence, if you wanted to just wait for those areas only, you could just wait for, if it just doesn't happen that often, but you could potentially wait for the extreme exhaustion and then take your profits there, or enter the market there. But it just doesn't happen that often. You can see it from what Tars is looking at right now. You can see that extreme exhaustion, and then at the peak, and then the drop over there. So that's what those colors on the candles mean. But right now I'm going to pass it over to Roland, and Roland's going to show you guys some techniques that he's been using. He described them in the Telegram before, if you guys were in the Telegram, but he's going to actually go over them now. Roland, you ready?
Yeah, I'm having some problems with one of my charts here. 1 second. Give me just one moment.
So let me answer, I guess, some questions in here. So Jack, yes, the stream is going to be available for later. It's going to be at this link, and people can watch it at any time they want. It's going to be available on our YouTube channel. Let's see.
I'm bringing up another window right now, and I'll share it shortly.
Sebastian, it started at 8:30 p.m. USA Central. We're mostly located in the Central Time Zone, and but we're going to be doing some videos over the weekend on Saturday. I know a lot of people are located in Europe and Asia, so we're going to try to do like a very early morning, for at least for USA time, video that we're going to kind of go over more of the basics as well. And this is honestly, if you guys are watching, this is our first live that we've ever done for TA. So we do have some technical issues, and I hope you guys stick with us. usually when we do our videos, it takes a lot of tries to get everything going. And hats off to, you know, some of the influencers and stuff that are on YouTube that do them live often. But you know, this is our first one, and hopefully you guys get something out of it.
Okay, give me just one moment, and I am sharing my screen.
Okay, ready?
Can you see that? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So my name's Roland, guys. As he introduced me, I've been trading on Aurox for several months now. I recently just started trading crypto. I traditionally traded futures, the E-mini S&P, and some of the other future markets. Indicators I use are a bit different from Taurus's. I do use TD sequential. I trade off a lot of RSI and stochastics, a lot of momentum indicators. And I also have recently been using the Aurox indicator to kind of, as he said earlier, confirm my trade, so to say. I call them high probability setups because nothing's 100%. But when the stars align, I kind of go for my trade. I think the first thing I can talk about is probably the stochastic RSI. Can you guys see that indicator? Is my resolution?
Can you, can you make the settings on it a little brighter, like the actual lines and stuff?
Yeah. So I can turn the opacity up, and maybe I can do yellow. And then this guy, let's do green. Let's turn him up too. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And let's switch off. Let's go look at BTC. All right. So the way I trade RSI, and RSI is a momentum indicator, right? If you see where my mouse is at, this is considered an overbought level, and down below it's considered an oversold level. And we get swings from oversold to overbought, and from overbought to oversold. But what I'm using it as is just kind of how's the momentum going in the market, right? So I'm looking at a 5-minute chart. This is live BTC. We can see here that we had a good run, and then right here we're very overbought, but we keep going up, and as we reach higher highs right here. So right here, where we are the most overbought, this is our high. Absolute high is 47,125. Yet we lose momentum, but we make higher highs. We go to 47,639. So what that's telling me is that even though price is increasing on the currency, momentum is decreasing, and that signifies a negative and a very bearish divergence for me. So right here, you know, right when I saw that, and this next candle right here, I'm taking a short position there. And sure enough, that's what you get following this. And the opposite is true from kind of from a bullish perspective. So you see if there's an example here, but what you're looking for primarily is when you're making lower lows, maybe, yeah, right here. So momentum's here. Price is decreasing, but momentum's increasing, right? You're getting into more overbought levels. So that tells me from right here, you know, once this happens, it's not very strong because if I were to draw a diagonal line between the two, it's not extremely steep, but it tells me it's a good spot where I can get involved in the market. And sure enough, past this point, of course, we go down here. But it picks back up, and then we kind of keep going from there. I use RSI along with, go ahead.
So just to kind of ask you a question, maybe some people are having the same one. When you mentioned overbought, so when it goes past that purple area, correct?
Correct,
Like
correct. So down here, it's 80, marked as 80 and 20. Those are my overbought and oversold levels. So anytime we're in an overbought level, you can kind of expect a pullback. Always, it's not going to be perfect. Just like when Taraz was kind of explaining, the indicators that he went over. There's false positives. Like right here, we're overbought, we're overbought, we're overbought. But when we're strong overbought, there's probably going to be a little pullback. And price may increase past that point, just like it did here. But again, that divergence happens, and this is a pretty steep bearish divergence, and so you're going to get some price pullback here. And even here, we're going down. We're getting high momentum, but it's just not enough.
Okay. So basically, just to look out for the opposite direction of the price movement and the RSI.
Correct. So look for the opposite direction of the price movement in the indicator to look for bullish or bearish divergences. And they're just one of the tools that I kind of use for what I'm calling a high probability setup. So I'll also tie in, the Aurox indicator. I'm trading on 5 minutes here, but let's go out to daily. And we can kind of see here, this may be something wrong with my machine here. But we can see that we're going back into, we're exiting out of this oversold level. We have a buy signal here. I'm probably going to take a trade here. And then, of course, you guys know what happens from there. Same thing over here. Aurox indicators telling us we got a short position here. And of course, the indicator is already dipping back down from an overbought level. So heading back to the oversold level. Of course, you got that here. Here is a situation where right here, actually, we're not fully overbought, right? So the indicator is marking here. We're not fully overbought. I would probably take that trade. It's not super strong for me. So I'd want to tie in other indicators and look and see other things, maybe draw some trend lines in here to kind of see where I think that price is going to go. I also wanted to touch on one thing with, I'm going to put TD sequential here. And I know I'm kind of getting a lot of charts here. I want to go back down to 5 minute. And I trade, because I rarely short. I take a lot of long positions just because it's a safer bet, especially in a bull market like this. I'm rarely doing shorts. I'm mainly doing longs. But, we talked about how the TD9 works for the green, but the same is true when it's red, right? So if you have a downward price movement of 9, typically, at 9, I'm taking a trade. Obviously, right here, you kind of flattened out for a while. But there's often times where you get big reversals in price. Again, here, taking the trade at 9, you got a good reversal in price. And I mean, it doesn't seem like that much on the time interval, but when you're looking at price, that was a pretty solid move of, $400 on BTC. Same here. You thought you were going to get a reversal, but you didn't. You just kind of got a little bounce and then back down again. So with this, what I like to do is just kind of use all my indicators, and then I use time frames as well. So the way I kind of have my workspace set up is I have, and this is kind of all the indicators that I typically use. I like to look at volume. If volume's not high but price is moving down, that's concerning to me. I also like to look at where people are entering. But just for my workspace, what I'm doing is I have all my indicators the same. I have my 10-minute chart, my 30-minute chart, 15, 1 hour, and 4 hour. I trade on a smaller time interval, so I never really look at daily. The largest time frame I always look at is the 4-hour chart. And typically I live and die by the 4-hour chart. If the 4-hour chart, if the Aurox indicator is showing me a buy on the 4-hour chart and I'm not too high on the TD sequential, I'm taking the trade. So like right here, Aurox indicator tells me to buy, I'm buying. Even though it's telling me to short here, I still see that I have a green TD sequential, I would look at my shorter time frames and see how momentum's looking. If momentum's still looking good, I'm staying in the trade and I'm completing the TD9. Same thing's true here. So around 7 or 8 is normally when I get involved, when the market's going down. And then of course that gets confirmed by the buy signal on the RX indicator here. And you can ride that wave up and combine that with your RSI down here. And you can see that you're very oversold. You got the TD9 telling you to make a trade. You got the Aurox indicator to make a trade. So you have 3 different indicators telling you to buy here. And if you made this trade, you're in at 38 and you're out at 45, right? Same thing is true back here. Again, very bullish market, so I'm not shorting. But if I'm down 6 bars, I'm normally getting involved on 6 or 7. I get a buy signal here. How are we looking on the momentum? Well, we're kind of entering into getting out of oversold, so I'm taking that trade as well.
So, to just kind of rehash, you mainly trade on the 4-hour interval, but in order to determine where that 4 hours is going to go, you look at this lower intervals, and then based on RSI and the TD sequential and Aurox indicator, you'll either keep your position open or exit, either breaking even or taking some profit.
Correct. And typically I'm, let me remove all these indicators because I'm going to go over a few other ones real quick. But typically I'm trading on a shorter time frame, and I look at the larger intervals to tell me what's going to happen in the short term. So I trade on a 5-minute, just because I do kind of a higher frequency. But I'm looking for where momentum's going. So before I make a short-term trade that I'm maybe going to be involved in for an hour or 2 hours, I'm looking at my hour chart. I'm looking at my 4-hour chart to kind of see, where we're at. Because if I'm on the 4-hour chart and I'm at a 9 green TD sequential and I know a reversal is about to happen, then I'm not taking the trade because I know I'm going to get swept out, right? Yep. So yeah, and it depending on how long I think I'm going to be in the trade is how I look at the intervals. But I'm looking at all time intervals to kind of get an understanding of what's going on in the market.
Yeah. And that's honestly, what we've gone over with Aurox indicator in the past, using those higher intervals in order to enter into the lower ones. If you're looking at the weekly and it's showing green and everything is lining up, shorting at any time during that period is just not going to be a good idea. You might get lucky, or maybe the indicator on the interval is wrong, but more often than not, you might make a mistake and you might lose a pretty good amount of money. So this, if you guys are watching this applies to literally every indicator. It's very a common process to look at the higher intervals and then trade on the lower ones, whether that's looking at the 1 week or 1 month, and then trading on the 1 day, or if you're looking at the 1 day and trading on the 4-hour, or like Roland said, looking at the 4-hour and then trading on the 5-minute.
Absolutely. And I see a few people asking, so what are the red numbers for? Sorry, I just saw that and what happens when the TD red numbers, when it gets to 6, where do you see the buy signal? So the red numbers are just, let me add that indicator again. The red indicators are just the opposite of the green. All you're looking for is a sequential upward movement. So if you have a sequential upward movement over and over and over for 9 bars, you're typically going to see a reversal. What I said about the 6 is because 6 or 7 is normally, where people like to get involved in the trade and either, hope for a reversal or the opposite. Either they're going to go long or short, but they're going to do it on bar 6 or 7 of the TD sequential. And it's kind of just up to you and what the market is telling you. Like right here, if you're just looking at TD sequential and you made a long trade here because you had, consistent negative momentum, that wouldn't have been profitable. Obviously you'd be upside down right now because you were only looking at one indicator. But if you added something on top of it, you know, yeah, the Aurox indicator here, it's telling you to go long, but it's telling you to go short. It's telling you to go long. It's telling you to go short. And again, remember, I'm looking at 5 minutes. So with me, I'm never really even trading off this chart. I'm just looking for certain things. I'm looking down here at the higher time intervals to see what's going on. So
Yeah,
right here,
the short.
you know, right. So on this higher time interval, you know, if I can see that we had a short signal and we're going against this Aurox line. And let me talk about those as well. Let me throw those on here. Aurox line. So the best way to explain this is in trading and people that do technicals. Yeah, the Aurox indicator has arrows. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In technicals, a lot of people are drawing lines. Let me remove all indicators again, and I'm just going to put the Aurox lines. People draw a lot of trend lines when they're trading. Aurox lines is drawing those trend lines for you. So if you're not someone who understands how to draw trend lines on your charts, that's what Aurox lines are telling you. The red is telling you kind of a resistance, and depending on how strong and how shaded that line is how strong of a resistance point it is. So as you can see right here, and actually let me not use this tool for a second. You can see here, these lines are very faint, right? So they're not hard floors. And as you saw, we kind of popped through those. You pop through both of those because they're not really hard floors. Whereas this is a very strong red line. So that's going to be hard to break through. Same thing here. Same here. And I think it's very true. Like these are very strong floors right here that you just kind of, you can see that the price it's going to take a lot of downward momentum to break through those.
Yeah,
go ahead.
We actually, I'm glad you're going over the trend lines because we haven't really touched on those in the past, but it's definitely something that is important to pay attention to. And we'll go over, so this video is mainly to just kind of gloss over these indicators, but we'll go over it more in depth. And we'll discuss them specifically. They'll be shorter videos, but we'll discuss them specifically just on their own and what they represent. So I'm glad you brought up the trend lines because we've kind of been busy and haven't been able to discuss them that much.
Yeah, absolutely. I use them all the time, and they definitely help when you're matching everything together. It all kind of starts making sense, and you can find those perfect little trades. And there's not always a trade available. That's one thing that I just like to tell everyone. Don't look for something where there's nothing.
Yeah.
Be patient and just kind of just wait to see the buy signals.
Yeah, and that's honestly, I mean, it comes down to, I have it too, like the anxiety, not only when you're trying to enter, but when you're exiting, you see the one large red candle coming after you've gone long. It's like, oh, wow, I have to exit right now. But if you're stacking these indicators and you're certain of the trade, you're eliminating that uncertainty, it's worth the risk. If you know what you're doing, if you're looking at the higher intervals and you understand how to make those trades, then you can let it run a little bit. And it goes in the opposite direction. You can, once you're confirmed on what you have to do, then make the trade. Don't try to jump ahead. It's like, okay, you know, the Aurox indicator on the 5 minutes showing red. It's going to be showing red a lot. It's a lot different trading on the lower intervals. There's going to be a lot of false positives independent of what indicator you're looking for. And that's exactly, you know, stacking them and confirming it through multiple means is going to help you make those educated trades. Let me, Sebastian, I'm not sure. I'll have to actually, what is the weekly head?
Yeah. My Google Chrome's kind of messing up right now. Give me just 1 second, but so scrolling up, and you said it had an Aurox indicator. Let me show that. Okay. So why is it not happening yet? Because there's no sequential pattern yet. So at 9, it went from 10, 11, 12, 13. You typically see exhaustion on 13, but it didn't exhaust. It kept going into 14 and 15, and it didn't exhaust until 16. And then this normally would be a 1 red, but it didn't get followed by a 2, so it didn't show up. And now we kind of have a sequential pattern going upward. Yeah, I think if after this week we get another green, you'll start seeing green TD numbers. But it's just because this pattern really is it hasn't gone red. So this trend hasn't exhausted yet.
Yeah. So that goes back to, you know, the different colors that I mentioned. TD sequential usually, a lot of the times it ends on 9. There are other TD sequentials that will number past 9 because there's chances of the trend not being exhausted at 9. And that's what those different colors symbolize. You will start to see more and more darker colors as it goes past 9, and because it becomes more and more, I don't want to say bullish or bearish, but it becomes more and more exhausted, and eventually after 9, it will reverse. That can be anywhere from 10 to 15 or 16, and that's why you will see the darker colors appear after 9. And real quick, before we get back to everything, we actually have a surprise guest on, very famous. I mean, you guys seen him around. I'll just put him on and he can introduce himself.
Very famous. I mean, I appreciate it, Taras. I mean, that was a heck of an introduction. Beautiful as always, but famous I am not. I'm just thankful to be here.
So Joe, we've just been kind of doing TA with everyone, and I think it's honestly our first video of doing TA live, and it's a whole lot harder than recording videos and guiding people.
Well, you should have invited me earlier. I could have. I'm just joking. No, what's up, Roland? What's up, Georgie? Taras,
Hello,
my man.
It's been all right. What about you?
No, look, unfortunately, it's been a busy day. I would have been here as soon as I possibly could, but you also got started without me, which I understand because I was a little bit unsure about what my time frame was going to be. Nevertheless, before we kind of move on here, I wanted to say something. My favorite thing about what Aurox and the entire, just the platform in general is, if anybody knows anything about me, they can attest to the fact that I've never pegged myself as a trader, but ever since I've been using Aurox in the terminal, I've been a trader. They make it easy. It's like the coolest, most simple, basic understanding of the market as possible. And look, designed to make you money, period. Chill.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that's why, when we started the video, I suggested everyone to look at the higher intervals, because it's super easy to follow the higher intervals. You don't need these other indicators. It's going to be wrong sometimes. There is no 100%.
Of course. Yep. Set your stop losses. Be smart.
Yeah, there's no 100% guarantee that it's going to be right. But when you start digging into the lower intervals and what Roland and Taras and I discussed, that's when you start becoming a little more advanced. And that's honestly that can be a lot easy. I don't want to say easier, but it can be very quick money maker when you get to the lower intervals. It's harder. It's not going to be as easy as just following the red and green arrows. But once you learn the steps, it can be very easy to scalp those $100, $200 trades.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
hold on, Taras.
Sorry,
I got to say something.
Mention about. I'll go for it.
No, go ahead, because it was way more important than what I was going to say.
No, I was just about to mention about the scalping and all those trades. Is you really want to make sure that you're taking certain trades. Like, we're in a really massive bull market, and we're gonna make money with Bitcoin going up. Like, the price targets are high right now. So if you are taking you're scalping, you're taking the lower time frame trades. You don't have to take every trade, and don't force them. Just take the trades that are the perfect setup, and just stick to those. If you make an extra, let's say your balance is, you have 10,000 in crypto or $1,000 in crypto, and then you make $50 or $100 scalping, that's good. You put that into Bitcoin and you let it grow. You don't need to be swinging your account balance 10, 20, 30% a day when you're scalping. Like scalping is meant for like a small percentage of your portfolio. You make those really safe trades that make you that quick money. You have a few good trades that get out for a day. It's like risk management is everything with like the shorter time frames.
Yep.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
And
I
I got
definitely agree more.
let me pull up a question. So we haven't gone over fear and greed because right now it's kind of ridiculous. The sentiment is insanely greedy, and normally you would expect the market to turn around. I mean, people are throwing money at tokens that have been dead for like 5 years. Like you've seen insane spikes in volume for these random tokens. Usually what we see is when fear and greed is higher, those are the times that the market can be a little shaky. But personally, and what we've found in our past is you don't really use fear and greed to exit the market because it can always get more and more greedy. It will always get more greedy. People are just going to, I mean, you see what happens with Elon Musk. They're going to throw money at it and they're going to create an insanely greedy sentiment. With fear and greed, you're looking at the lower sentiment when it's bottom, like at 10 or 1 or whatever it might be. Those are your opportune times to accumulate Bitcoin. It's still risky. I mean, Bitcoin could, I don't think it will ever go to zero, but it could potentially go to zero. If fear goes to 1, it could always just keep going lower. But we're at a point in time where Bitcoin is expanding daily. So when you see that fear and greed drop low, we could potentially enter like a bear market. But that will be when the price also drops significantly. And if you go back around 2017, you will see that fear go to like 10 or 20. And that's when it dropped to like, I think it was like $3,000. That's when you start to accumulate. If you have the cash for it, that's when you start to accumulate and hope that the market eventually turns around. And usually when you're talking about the market, it will always turn around. I should rephrase that. Maybe not always, but a lot of the times it will turn around.
When has Bitcoin gone down and not gone back up?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
This very minute, never.
Yeah.
So it does turn around. But great point, Georgie.
Yep. Let's see.
Hey, this is what I was going to say. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go.
No, I was going to say this is that, and you guys have to be careful when you say these things. And I understand that. But, truly, like I am not your expert trader. I am an expert holder almost to my own detriment at times. But, when you're talking about like when I'm introducing Aurox in the project, which I've done this for a lot of people in Taras and George, you guys know this, is that, I don't introduce it to the person who's been trading for 4 or 5 years. I like to introduce it to the person who has been trading for 2 to 3 to 5 months, somebody who has put a lot of effort into understanding the concepts. But, the traders that have been in for 4 or 5 years, not that we don't want them at Aurox, duh, of course we do. But a lot of times those people are successful and they know what they're doing, and maybe Aurox can help them or the platform makes it a little bit easier. But what I have found is that it makes it significantly easier for the people who are newer, and even for the people who are 1 day old into crypto. But more importantly, like these indicators are designed for anybody to, now you got to put your own efforts in. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, Georgie, but when you put a little bit of effort compounded with the concept and the ideology of what Aurox and the platform and the terminal are doing, it makes it, you skip over like 4 years of losing so that you can finally win. And I'll tell you this, look, when I first started trading in 2015, 2016,
I think he might have disconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to kind of finish out, kind of explain what he was saying, we try to make it as easy as possible for people to get started, and that's why we're going to be doing these lives, and we pushed out the guides and emails and stuff. We're going to try to make it as easy as possible to understand these core indicators, so you can go from just trading on the higher end flows or investing in a token and then just keeping it forever. We're going to make it easier for you to start digging deeper into the lower intervals. And the these indicators that we've added, it's something that we use in-house. We've been using it for a long time. And the Aurox indicator adds another layer to it. It uses other algorithms that that can confirm those trades. So our process with this has been from the start leading users into more advanced techniques. You sign up on the platform to learn some of the basic functionalities, but then you need to move on. We need to turn you into an expert trader, and that's the goal of Aurox, and that's we're going to be doing a lot more of that in the coming weeks. Domain access is also relevant.
No, it's definitely relevant to Bitcoin and Ether. Fear and greed is just kind of it's either one or the other type of thing. So,
yeah.
And especially with the market right now, it's just so greedy that's why it's kind of irrelevant at this point. But definitely, the demand index is something that Charles was talking about earlier, I believe, and there's plenty of opportunities to use it in the market currently.
Yeah, demand index works on the fear and greed just tells you the sentiment of the entire market, whereas the demand index can work on any type of it changes more often. The fear and greed just measures I think it measures like Reddit, Twitter. It's more of a social aspect of the market. Let's answer this question. So stop losses, maybe Taras and Roland can answer that question.
Depends on how you're trading. So if you're swing trading like a few days, that's kind of it depends on how long you're going to be involved on the trade and what time interval you're looking at. But I use the Aurox lines a lot for that. So like on my screen now, let me swap over, like just as an example. I know you guys can see this little chart here, but like if for some reason I get a long here, I would set my stop loss to like I would set my take profit to somewhere like here, because that's where I know I'm going to start meeting resistance, and I may have a pullback, and I may not sell all my position, but maybe I sell 50% of my position to take some profits and let the rest ride. If I break through, great, I've made more money. But if I reverse, I can either sell out on the reversal or I can do something else. But a lot of the times, I think for newer traders, taking profits and setting stop losses is just kind of you need to figure out where those trend lines are and where the points of resistance are. And I think this kind of goes back to what Charles was saying, is just I would suggest making a lot of smaller trades as you're getting started with technicals, because everyone's going to make mistakes. If you learn to ride a bike, or if you're learning to skateboard or something like that, you fall a lot at the beginning. Like you make a lot of mistakes at the beginning. And I know when I started trading futures way back in the day, I emptied my account a few times before I even started understanding things. If there's one thing I could tell myself back then that I know now, is that just like, don't try to make $100 every trade. Don't try to make $1,000 every trade. Just try to make successful trades and make sure you can weather some losses. So just like he was saying, just a small portion of your overall balance needs to be going into each of these trades. And I would highly suggest staying away from margin initially. But to get back to the fundamentals of your question, try to use the Aurox lines and then try to match that up with some of these indicators to kind of set you up where to set your profits and your stop losses.
And we'll dig deeper into these specific concepts. Like I said, this is mainly just an overview of some of the indicators that we use, and guys can get started on it. Then maybe not executing the trades if you've never used them, but just learning them and following them. So I'll actually write a comment in here of the indicators that we went over. That way you guys have an idea of everything that we covered and start pulling them up on your chart and following them along.
Hey, I've got a suggestion, and Georgie and Taras are about to kill me, and Roland, you probably too. But Georgie, I'm going to go ahead and do this and say this. But it'd be really cool for some of the Euros token holders as we go forward. If maybe Taras and Roland, if I could get on a live and have them on, and they could actually just live trade and explain what they're doing for just a minimal amount. Like maybe just Taras and Roland are down there. Maybe they've got $150 worth of Bitcoin USD, or $500, whatever makes sense and is a rounded off number. But maybe Euros token holders who have access to a certain level, could be in a situation where they could just literally watch Taras and Roland trade for 2 or 3 hours at a time. I know it's a long time to be trading and be live, but it's one of those things that it's going to accelerate the conceptual education of some of these people. Even long-term holders will benefit from that. And I'm not necessarily saying, hey, everybody go and trade exactly how they're trading, but watch these guys and listen to them talk and let them. What do you think about that, Georgie? I don't want to hear from you, Roland and Taras. I already know what you're going to say.
Yeah, no, we talked about courses a few days ago. We're thinking about adding courses into the Euros token architecture. If you're holding an X amount of tokens, we're going to try to get a group of people, not just Taras and Roland, to help us out to create an entire course and do lives constantly. But I think what your idea is, having them watch them trade live is great, and it's something that we can totally include in that course.
I gotcha, Taras. Gotcha, Roland. Let's go.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, to be honest, and I feel like that's an important point.
I can't wait to make all my money in those 3 hours. Y'all are just gonna make me rich.
I think a lot of it's just kind of understanding what we're looking for, because we're kind of, historically kind of looking back on charts and patterns here and showing you what happened. But when it's live, you're right, it is a different ball game. And again, as Georgie was saying, your emotions can get involved. A lot of different things can come into play here. And that's again why, as you're learning, make sure you can weather some bad trades.
Hey, here's one of the things I've learned as a semi trader. I still consider myself a holder first, but Roland and Taras, it's an honor really to sit next. You guys are incredible traders. You too, Georgie. But I've learned a lot from Taras just on a personal level and as a friend. The one thing that traders and myself have that are completely, I get so sentimentally connected to a trade, right? And the one thing that you have to learn as a trader, and this is Trading 101, a lot of y'all already know this, folks listening tonight, but a lot of them don't. And there are a lot of new people to this platform that are learning to trade. And I feel like that's who I represent, right? So folks, y'all smarty pants, the ones that win all the time, disregard this. But I get sentimental, and traders don't. They look at it as like they are flipping up, their quarter in their hand, and they can. And I'm not saying just guessing, but more so, it's just no big deal. If it goes up, it goes up. It goes down, goes down. Just be on the right side of it. Where I'm like a super bull, just at heart. And folks, the number one thing you can do is work on self-discipline and understand that you can turn off the computer tonight and find the next trade, because trades happen at every hour, at every half hour, and every 15-minute interval. There is a time to enter, there's a time to exit, but there's always the next trade. And if you look, and also as somebody who has become a disciplined trader, when it hits a certain level, I'm often so far out of it already that I don't even gain off these huge runs sometimes. And I know that's not the best thing to say, but it's the truth. And I've already made my money off of it, so I'm out. Anyways, all right. Sorry for running along.
No, that's a good point. Is people see, like right now, if you're not in Bitcoin, you're not holding Bitcoin, it went up 20%. It's like, oh wow, I missed it, and then you're trying to catch that trend, and you end up making mistakes. A lot of people have done that in the past, and a lot of people will do it now today, and that's why you just have to kind of buckle down and look at the chart. And if there is no good entry point, then you don't take it. You
absolutely
watch some TV and take a break, and then come back.
By the way, I'm terrible at that. I'm gonna enter at some point. If I'm bored, I'm just getting in a trade.
Yeah. And
that's like
wrong answer for that.
Right? Is the discipline. We can teach you how to trade, like all the strategies. It'll take us, a couple sessions. You learn how to do it, but then it's sticking to your strategy. Once you get in and the trade goes against you, and for you to make the same decision. And like one thing that we didn't touch on at all is like Bitcoin is so volatile that you shouldn't be really entering in one position and selling one position. You should be trading zones. So even if you do get into a trade and it does go against you a little bit, you add on. I mean, you don't keep adding on as it keeps falling, but you have some rules set where, you break up your order into a couple different positions, and you buy the dips, which also helps you with the stop. So you're not too worried that, oh, it's dropping. What do I do? No, it's dropping. You add a little bit. It keeps dropping, add a little bit, and then if, let's say, it really breaks a key support level, then you get out. So.
Hey, and by the way, everybody watching tonight, let's go ahead and hear where's your stop loss at right now? Where's your exit point for Bitcoin? I know we're in unprecedented territory up here at an all-time high again, but let's hear about it. Hey, where is your exit point? I want to know who's right and who's wrong. I want to look back on this in a couple of days. So if you're watching, you're a trader, put out where, at least at the time period. I mean, it's going to change, but where do you think Bitcoin's going to stop? Or have we already hit that top?
I mean, on our end, so actually we didn't really cover this, and I want to cover it real quick. This videos has been on for a while, but real quick, we haven't covered Pi Top, and it was actually suggested by one of our users. And honestly, we're taking a lot of feedback from our users. Our development backlog is full of user suggestions, and we're making progress on it. And one of the indicators was Pi Top is. The Pi Top indicator has triggered, like, I think 3 times in the past, and every single time it's been at the top. Now, it might not happen this time around, but Pi Top right now is looking at 60. Again, this is this is just an indicator. I'm reading it. This is not my advice. It's
not financial advice, folks.
No.
Please be responsible. Do your own research.
Yeah. So the Pi Top indicator is looking at, it's coming closer and closer to, I think, like 70,000, maybe 80,000. And again, it's only triggered like 3 times, and each time it's triggered at the top. And this was, again, suggested by one of our users to integrate. It's a very simple algorithm, and we'll see if it hits that. I hope it hits 70 to 80,000, but
it will at some point.
We'll see. Yeah, definitely. Guess actually I want to answer this question. I think then we should wrap up. I don't want this video to go too long, and then we'll actually break down the specific indicators into their own live sessions. Murph, yeah, we are going to make a video on how to buy the Euros token. We're going to make a guide how to buy it. We're going to have a lot of documentation on how to purchase the Euros token on Uniswap.
We'll make it grandma proof. Your grandma will be able to buy it when we're done.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely suggest it to them if you want. That's not our advice, but if you want to do that, that's, But anyways, does anyone have anything to add?
I do see that a couple people had some 120 by Sebastian says 120. I like it. I think we'll get there eventually. Yeah. But and then we have 50, Jamie. I'm actually my personal opinion at this point, folks, not a financial advice. Take it for what it's worth. I've never been great at predicting tops. In fact, I'm probably super wrong. But mine was 62. I think we'll hit 62 this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to predict where, especially now with all the news coming out with Tesla. Or I guess,
oh my gosh! Cheers to you, Elon Musk. I love you. Do you want to have babies? Because I'm down.
Yeah, I think that's like a good point. As with, as someone who comes from a traditionally like a stock and kind of a futures trading background, I think fundamentals do have a lot to do with things. And like when you're matching technicals with fundamentals, you have a good strategy. And like Bitcoin, we're talking about a finite currency. There's only a certain amount of coins, and you have something to find out, it's going up, right? And I think Georgie touched on this earlier. There's dead coins right now that are rising in price, but fundamentally they're dead, right? The project's going nowhere. So we know that that's just a pump, right? At the end of the day, that's not going to go back down. But we have things like Ethereum. There's Compound right now. There's SushiSwap, Uniswap. All these things are, you can see the value in them. So definitely when you're trading, alternate currencies in general, just make sure you understand the fundamentals behind what you're trading.
Yep.
Hey, the one thing, and look, I'm not sitting here saying everybody go margin trade, but you can go 1x margin trade and never have to leave Bitcoin. That's my favorite thing about margin trading, is that people forget that even a 1x, you're still in your crypto, right? So you still own the amount of Bitcoin you put in. And I'm not, hey, look, if you don't know what you're doing, don't go do this just on your own. This is how I trade. I go in and out of Bitcoin, Ethereum, from my native token. So if I'm trading Ethereum on Bybit or BitMEX or whatever, I have Ethereum. If I go into BitMEX, I've got Bitcoin. I might trade whatever I'm choosing to trade. But even a 1x trade, you're still in your native token. So even if you lose on the trade, you didn't miss. I mean, if you got stop losses, you still got that. You didn't miss the big run. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Georgie.
No, you were fine. I was just wanted to cover a few more questions, I guess. But
yep, go ahead.
Let's see, the Aurox signals. The Aurox signals are based on the Aurox indicator. They're just easier to follow, so you don't have to look at the charts. They just trigger whenever the indicator triggers. It's on the 1 day interval, and I think we made it specifically on the 1 day interval. That way, when you log on and you see the signal, then you can just hop on the 1 day charts, and then from there trade on if you want to trade on the lower intervals.
Very rarely is the Aurox indicator that way overly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we back tested and it's just by following those arrows on the 1 day or above, it's 70%. It's going to be wrong. Like, don't think that when I'm saying, yeah, take that Aurox signal, you're going to be 100% right. It's just impossible. It's impossible for anyone to predict, especially we triggered, I think, a red right before Elon Musk pumped the token. That's just,
unpredictable.
It's completely
doesn't fall in line.
Yeah.
Hey, but by the way, cool ass name, Espionage 32. Terrible team choice though. I'm not gonna hate on the Jets too bad, but I mean, I feel bad for you, bro. I'm a Saints fan, so it's okay.
I actually, Rudy's question in here. I've kind of worried as someone who trades on the platform, kind of the alerts and things like that. Is that something kind of you guys are going to be developing in the future?
Yeah, so the alert system is actually live. It's through email now. It's going to have webhooks to it. That way you can deliver signals to your Telegram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever you want to send it to. The issue is we haven't focused too much on it because that's going to be part of the Euros token. It's actually on our Aurox Markets website that you can subscribe to. It's $39.99 a month. But the reason the reason that we haven't fully promoted it is because we want that to be part of the Euros token infrastructure. So if you're holding the token, you're just going to get it for free. And we don't want to really heavily promote it unless you're fully interested in it. And we've had users that are interested now and they've subscribed to it, but we don't want to fully push it hard on the alerts until the Euros token is out. That way people can potentially get it for free just by owning the token.
Yeah, Sebastian just asked that exact question. He said, is the Aurox indicator going to be free forever, or at least for early adopters like us? It is. You got to hold the amount of token that they charge each month, $50 worth of token. You don't have to pay that. You just got to hold that amount. And, as the Aurox token hopefully increases in value to the holders, you can continue to sell your Aurox if you needed to, or trade it or whatever it might be. But sorry, I just wanted to answer that real quick.
Yeah. So
even though you hit on that just a second ago.
Yeah, the indicator is going to be free. We might just to kind of create more demand for the token and to give back. It doesn't seem like we're giving back to our original users, but it is by preventing, let's say, we start charging for the lower intervals, but it will be charged through the Euros token. Just by holding it, you'll be able to get access to it. And like I said, it seems like we're charging you for it, but in reality, we're just giving it free to the Euros token holders, and that helps not only our infrastructure but those holders as well.
There was a KSFS09 and Megan in the chat in here asking about the Euros token. What's the Euros token? That was what he asked.
Yeah, so the Euros token, we have some videos on our YouTube channel that kind of go over this. We did a kind of a launch party in a way a few days ago, or I think last week. It's basically going to be the token that's going to power our infrastructure. It's going to power the terminal and more. So some of the functionalities that we're going to integrate coming up, there's going to be I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be integrated. The alert system. We're going to add on-chain data. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be added to the terminal in the next few months, including the Aurox Lend and Aurox Trade protocols. And those are a little more complex, but all of this is going to be powered by the Euros token. And we're not going to be charging users our token. Most other platforms are going to charge you if they have a token. They're going to tell you to send me your token and I'll give you the service. We're not going to be charging people to send us their token. We're just going to ask them to hold it. So you're still going to have that equity in the token, and you can sell it at any time. But at the same time, you're going to get access to these advanced functionalities.
And as like a trader and someone that's not super involved with the platform, and I haven't really followed the token that much even myself, but like and correct me when I'm wrong here, but essentially the token is to kind of provide liquidity for margin trades on the platform, but you're also going to give the Aurox indicator, all those advanced indicators that were kind of have a price attached to them in the alert system, because there's costs associated with those alerts. You're going to get for free for holding the token and providing liquidity to the margin traders.
Yeah. So you're basically getting everything for free, at the same time also holding your own liquidity. You're holding your own token, so you're never actually paying for anything. You just have to hold the token, and it helps everyone in that case. It takes the tokens off the market, so people aren't dumping it. At the same time, you're getting access to our terminal. You're getting access to these indicators, alerts, courses that we'll probably do soon as the token is launched. So all these perks that other people will charge you. I mean, we had someone contact us, they've been paying like, I think $50 a month or 50 euros a month for some Telegram channel where they've been getting signals and tips and stuff like that. That's money out of your pocket. Whereas if you buy one token and hold it, you're going to get access to basically everything that person was paying for. So everything is going to be developed onto the Euros token and for holding the Euros token.
Hey, real quick before we cut this off tonight, George, because I know that it has run a little bit longer than you anticipated. I'm thankful I was able to hop on at one point. But let's just do a quick yes or no or short answer for some of these last few questions, because they've been good ones. Starting with Sebastian, I was going to acknowledge that Espionage, Mr. Spyman, number 32, he's excited about Deshaun Watson coming over the New York Jets. Hey, Espionage, guess what? I'm rooting for y'all. By God, y'all need some good luck, all right? And Deshaun Watson will be a hell of a snag there, but I'm not hopeful for y'all's future. But no offense. But moving on, I think Sebastian asked a good question: is Aurox indicator going to be free? We addressed that with the adopters. But moving on, did you say the alert is available now? If so, is there a text option? Just address that. But just be quick.
It'll be available through the text option is not available right now. It'll be available through webhooks. It's already
coming, folks.
It'll be available soon.
Trust me, we have big plans for the Aurox platform, for Euros, and everything else involved, folks. If you can imagine it, we're thinking about it. Just trust us on that. Are you coming out with the Aurox indicator bot soon?
So that will actually tie into our AI-based indicator. And if one of our developers is probably listening to this right now, but he's been developing an AI-based indicator that's going to be a lot more extensive and a lot more accurate than what you've seen. And that bot will be based on that. But both of those items, the AI indicator and the bot, will also require you to hold the Aurox, the Euros token.
Perfect. And folks, keep in mind, we're going to be doing live videos. I would say, Georgie, what would you say? 3, 4 each week? I mean, leading up and afterwards too. I mean, I'm going to be here helping out, doing a lot. I've encouraged Georgie and Taras to let me kind of get on board. I've been an early investor with this project. Glad to have Roland on tonight as well. So, we'll be doing all this as much as possible, folks. And just if you got questions, we're going to try to hit every question before the last question. You better get them in now, because as soon as we hit the last one, it's it. But what was the next one there? Are you coming out with, we just hit that one? What platform are we going to be able to provide liquidity with Euros token? Sorry if I missed it.
So Uniswap, you'll be able to provide liquidity to our market, and you'll be rewarded with more Euros tokens. But later on, we'll have other ways to provide liquidity through the Euros token as well.
Hey, good answer. Good answer. Also, do you guys utilize volume profile as an indicator? I guess it shows the sell buy trades at that price level.
Yeah, Taurus or Roland, do you want to handle this one?
Yeah.
So I utilize it, but it's not something I strongly look at. Taraz, maybe you could address it.
Yeah, I use it. I like to use it to see support and resistance areas and places where there's been a lot of a lot of trading happening, and it's good for confluence. So I personally like to use Fibonacci a lot, or you can use it with any
Fibs.
other indicator. So if you see that we get a green buy signal in an area where the volume profile has a lot of bars, that's usually a good place to get into your trade. It's gonna have a lot of support, or if you're shorting resistance. So yeah, I really like it. It's a great indicator.
Yeah, and Logan, good answer there, Taras. And Logan asked, "Can you show us how to set the alerts for the indicators?" We will do that next. All right, Taras. We'll make sure that we do that and step by step it, folks.
Yeah, and I also pasted a link in the description or in the comments.
What kind of fish is that? Hold on.
And it goes over kind of how to set it up. But again, it is paid now. You can subscribe.
That's a crappie. That's a redneck like me. I like that. Let's go, Logan. I respect you. Go ahead.
But Logan, the link that I just commented on, it will actually show you how to set those alerts.
He said it's a spec. Old country ass. All right.
But again, if you want to support our company and our development, feel free to subscribe to it. If you want to support it by buying the token, and then when we do have this staking functionality, then you can do it then. That's completely up to you.
It's hard to see what kind of fish that redneck's holding over there. My bad. I gotta have some fun, folks. Gotta have some fun. I'm Alabama, man. I'm just up north of Panhandle.
Let's see.
I think that covers it, man.
This question, we've gone over it a lot, so I really suggest you go to our YouTube channel, and there's a video about the Aurox or the Eurus token launch, and please watch that. It's about 40 minutes. It might be a little long, but it definitely goes over everything on how to purchase, where to purchase, and so on and so forth.
For sure. For sure.
All
right, hey, Georgie, before we get off, can we ensure this great group of watchers tonight and the people who watch when it's not live? Because I know everybody's got a time frame. Not everybody can watch it live, and we're trying to do these relatively consistent at a certain time. And I got on late, so I don't mean to take over here, Georgie. Feel free to just cut me off. I understand, but I love being part of the community, and the Aurox community is so authentic. They're so naturally interested. There's something to be said about people who are desperate to learn. Like, they're not just sitting here like, tell me when Bitcoin's going to fall. They're like, hey, show me the indicators. Hey, how does this indicator work? Folks, we respect that. We acknowledge it. We're going to make this as easy, as understandable, and as genuine as we possibly can. You got some of the best people in this space running this project. I could not be more proud of how far they've come. It's not that the idea was ever that far, out of reach. It was just that, folks, there's a reason why nobody's done it before. It's because it's hard. This is not something that's just easily overcomable. They spent 3 years, and I want to remind everybody of this. I've said it over and over. You're going to hear me say it 1,000 times. They did it the right way. They could have launched token 2.5 years ago with the same concept, just vaporware, right? And they didn't. They said, when we do this, we're going to do it right. It's going to be authentic. We're going to have a working product. And when it goes live, we're going to have something to show them. And of course, not everything's going to be ready at one point. Man, it takes a lot. But guess what? Self-funded. Guess what? These founders spent every dollar that this project has received out of their own pocket. They believe in this project, and they did it for you. To do it differently than so many other projects have. Folks, it's here, it's happening, and you're the lucky ones to be part of this. So congratulations, folks.
Yeah, no, I mean, you touched on everything that we've ever wanted for this project, and we're growing at an incredible pace. Like, we can't even handle it. We've had downtimes because, we've been signing up users left and right, and we can't wait to do more of these lives, do the courses, everything, in order to teach people and create an audience that doesn't have to spend hundreds of dollars on on some bullshit course.
Exactly.
Our goal has been to try to keep everything as free as possible, because I think there's been a lot of help in our past, and I think passing that on to our users is very important.
Hey, I'm just thankful that Roland and Taras agreed to do the money hour where they just show everybody how to make a bunch of money, right? That's what's coming up. Get ready, folks. It's going to be fun.
Let's do it.
Designed to make you money, folks. Don't forget. Taras was born and his mama said that.
I think let's wrap it up. It's getting late. I got to deal with developers later.
Because of my joke. George said time to go. All right, folks, let's go.
Yeah, we'll definitely have more videos, and we'll dig deeper into the specific indicators on their own coming up. But I mean, there's just a lot going on, and we're very excited for it.
Perfect.
I'm excited for it. I mean, I'm just thankful to be here, right? I'm just excited. It's gonna be a good time. We're getting close, guys. Hey, congratulations to all you listeners. Y'all are the real winners in this.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe I'll get Georgie to come help.
Thanks for having me on, Georgie.
Yeah, definitely, Roland. Appreciate you being on, and hopefully we can continue.
Yeah, let's do
those. Yeah.
Oh, dude, he's part of the money making segment. Don't let him off the hook.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And I feel like everyone had good questions. It was very engaging. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm going to do it again. Thanks, guys.
All right. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.